percussion speech. What do you mean percussion speech? That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I said. What? You know, what you do is basically look at it like you have a tone that bats like that, you know, and you just basically learn how to speak, with your points that you have, and like you're always constantly like nudging somebody to wake them up, except not wake them up, but tell them what you want them to know, and then like like when I say, but tell them what you want them to know, you say, but tell them what you want them to know, you know. And if you keep doing that, if you keep doing that, there's also the, there's also the, and then there's also the, when I say there's also the, I said, there's also the, I could have went, there's also the, but I could also say, there's also the, and that would go at the same time as that one. You see what I mean? Like, this is throwing, the pure thought of it, and then this is like explaining it, so it's almost like having a line that you could cross over and bend and stretch it. Percussion, and anyway, it kind of defeats and destroys music in its entirety and speech in itself when you ignorantly think like you ignore what is being said, and you start thinking about your body getting old and crumbling, start thinking about yourself being inside of a casket, or you think about, negative thoughts, things that you don't need to say, things that, are hostile, don't convey any good information, and, things about, things, things about things have to be said. But anyway, a good technique, is sit next to someone, and it could be your partner or just a regular person, and look at it like a computer. You say like, I want to open up this file, and then, let them know what you're saying really, Don't be like my parents did when they woke me up, and how my aunts and uncles and, did when they woke me up, and they, come on, get up, and they call me a nickname I don't want, and, it's just little tiny things that, like, you don't want any secrets in there. You want to be able to share these secrets. When you say, I like, porn, is the first thing that most people throw in there, and, it's, but, really it's just more like a cat could be a better example. Cats speak by doing this, and then they, they'll do one, and then they'll do this, and then they'll do it later, and then they'll do it again, and they cuddle, and that's all I really am trying to explain. And when you do the percussion, you don't want to be thinking about your body as an old thing or some huge, morbid, gross plaque thing, nasty, fat, or whatever, you know. It doesn't have to be anything to do with porn or anything gross or something disgusting. But what it does have to do with is basically just conveying information comfortably. And if it feels good to do it, then it gives you a reason to kind of respond, and it builds up a momentum of the two thoughts, what you're trying to say, because you're trying to talk back to yourself. So, when you talk like this, it's like kind of imagine somebody can't talk, and every time someone else is talking, I'm like, let's say there's two people talking, and they're like, hey, how are you doing? And they say like, hey, how are you doing? Right? You can't say anything. And, those are counted. Hey, how are you doing? Hey, how are you doing? That's 10. And you could go, and then it kind of, some of them will, build up and become one. And you'll be, hey, how are you doing? And then, kind of like Kenny, um, from South Park, but not really like Kenny from South Park, but basically that you cannot use your mouth, and that the syllables that you try to use, you know, they all are counted and they all build up, and then there's a way, to like capture that moment. And, so try sitting next to somebody and having your hand on their lap like this, and then talk about every single range of subjects, and I mean everything, and try to make it feel better and try to make it to where you can see the rest of everything, and then you can kind of go back, and you can kind of see for a long motion, you know, and that way you can feed the communication. Just like using a telephone, and it's better than Morse code, and it's better than using colors, it's better than using sounds, and it's really easy, and it's a basic fabric of just doing this just to see, just to see, just to see, You know that if there's a just to see and then there's like a little small mini just to see, you think that if someone else has a just to see, then the two just to sees can say just to see at the same time and go that way. And then the just to see would be a little bit lower and probably larger and, probably under, that small one, and then there could be even a tiny one above it, it'd be like, just see, it'd be like, and really small, tiny, microscopic tiny, but some of them are really big, you know, there's different ranges and different tones, and I mean it's just like when I had those couple videos about the stink bugs, the location part 1, 2, and part 3, about basically if you hold them like this and you have him nice and get him comfortable, get him feeling good and comfortable, get him entertained, and then you can feel how small that vibration is. But I mean, he will kind of move a little bit, if you ask him, like, and you can play each note, kind of like a guitar string, and just, and then see how it feels, right? And he can pick it up, and he knows how it hit him, from like the position. It's kind of like archery, you know. And anyway, it's really interesting, and it is the language of percussion, and I guess you could call it hit points. Like if someone has health points, health points are the points that you have on the health. When you say, yeah, that's a good point. That's something I want that has to do with me. That's my health point. And when you have a health point, it's usually something that saying, like, I just ate this today and, like, it was good and, I'm still alive and helped me, good for me, helped me, give me health. That's a health point. When you have health points, it's the same thing as a hit point. When you have a hit point, you made a point, and then the other person kind of, oh, okay, I heard that one. Okay, I heard you. That's one hit point. That's one health point, that you heard that, and that, there's hit points and health points. And you can kind of pick up that just from the communication, just with the percussion. And there's also really microscopic percussion when your hand is just sitting there like this. And it does a lot, And then there's like really big, slow ones and all kinds, that are probably studyable. But anyway, music is basically like that. And, it's kind of like when there's a, I mean, I can't really explain it very well, but it's kind of like when they have sumo wrestlers, it seems like they don't really use, it's like boom, boom, you're like boom, 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 and then it's like, like sumo wrestlers are really good to study. That has to do with the percussion, because they're doing this the whole time. They're trying to communicate that way when they do this, you know. It's kind of cool. So anyway, I hope you enjoy that, and it's something that I think should be, revolutionary in technology. I think they need to, invent a machine that can learn how to, basically, speak using the percussion and then kind of calculate it, like that, like, ooh, that hurts, like, and if it's not cold, you kind of make it, good, warm it up health point, so I think that's something that needs to be studied more. And when you do speech and when you make beats and when you do the tones and when you do the volumes and when you do the notes and do the, what's going to catch that, area and and just you know, and all of that and how that works. I think it's pretty important, and I think it has to do with every element of percussion. And I think percussion has nothing to do with music, and I think that it has to do with communication, and it's a language. And if music is really that important in that way, I really believe that there's no such thing as music unless it's just mucus and we're not paying any attention. Because I really think percussion is more important, and obviously the health points that you need to understand. So I hope you like that, and there's a lot more. Um, you know, subscribe for more if you want to, but I have a lot more to teach you about that, and hopefully, I'll be able to do some experiments with other people. It's kind of one of my um, basically one thing that I would really like to do is to be able to practice with other people speaking just like that, and without using drums, without using any form of good or bad principle, like like fuck you and I like you, none of that stuff, but just to be able to sit with you and do that at a proper time would be great. So spread the movement, figure that out, figure out what the percussion's for, speak in that language, when you have a partner, like kind of figure out how to touch each other like that, and figure out how it all works, and practice percussion.